I also see something on here called teamwork. Boys and girls, as I travel all over the world, guess what? I have a team that supports me and helps me. And we know team, together, everyone achieves more. Teamwork, team effort. And let me tell you, today as I stand here, I could never do what I do, traveling the world over 15 years, without teamwork and encouragement, people telling me I can make it. But are you ready for this, boys and girls? I'm going to tell you a true story about a little boy. When he was born, he was handicapped. They called him the throwaway. They said he was nothing, he was no good, he was crippled from his waist down to his feet. And he wore metal braces on his legs and a waist belt. He had special made orthopedic shoes for his feet. He was severely pigeon-toed. And look at this. He had 12 buckles down each side of his leg. And he walked like this. And he couldn't speak. He stuttered really bad. And people made fun of him. His classmates ridiculed him. They name-called him. They picked on him and they bullied him. And you know what, folks, ladies and gentlemen? We need to be careful how we choose to speak to one another. Because words have power. Words are more powerful than a gun. Words are more powerful than a knife. Because the words you speak, if they're negative, guess what? Your friend, if he or she hears those words of negativity, unfortunately in their mind, this little boy heard how he would never be successful. His dream was simply to play basketball. He wanted to be an athlete. He watched all of his most famous NBA players on TV, and he could only hope and pray that one day he would even be able to walk, because he picked his legs up like this. They said there was no hope for this little boy. He was handicapped. He was the skinniest, weakest kid in his school. And kids would come up and push him over and knock him over and laugh. And they would laugh at him. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but that's the biggest lie I've ever heard in my life. Words are powerful. So I want to challenge every student in here, young and old. Choose. You have the power of choice today to choose to speak kind to one another, encourage one another, commit to building each other up, and commit to respecting authority and having teamwork and working together. But it's going to take a commitment. It's going to take, hey, you've got to respect each other. Well, this little boy, no one respected him. But you know what he said? Guess what, boys and girls? Every day he got up to go to school, he would look in a mirror at his skinny little body, and he would point and say, I'll show them. They're never going to make fun of me again. And a coach in his school began helping him strengthen his little legs. And he would work his legs out. He'd go through rehabilitation, and he would go to the doctor, and they would help him stretch his muscles and legs and the tendons and try to get his legs to move because he couldn't walk. And that little boy, all he wanted to do was play basketball. He'd have a basketball, and he'd have his braces, and he'd be bouncing that basketball. And he said, one day I'm going to show them. They're not going to make fun of me anymore. I'm going to make it. I'm going to have self-discipline. I'm going to commit, and I'm going to do this. And I'm going to make my life a success. And he would bounce that ball, and he'd wear those braces. And then, one day, no one could believe this. He didn't just walk again. His braces came off. He became the fastest track athlete in his whole school. Not only that, he tried out for the basketball team, hoping he would make it. He became the MVP player of his team. He led his team in scoring. He got a huge gold ring in high school because they won a championship. And they voted him team captain. He got a full-ride scholarship to play in a university. Guess what? In college, you won't believe it, he went on to play against guys like Scottie Pippen, who will be in the Hall of Fame in the NBA. He went on to play against guys like Dennis Rodman, who will be in the NBA Hall of Fame. No one could even believe it. But you know what? One thing that little boy, his teachers always told him when he was growing up, always have a positive mental attitude. He was always prompt, prepared, and he was positive. And he produced straight A's, and he made the honor roll every single time. He worked harder than anybody in the classroom. It wasn't just athletics he was into. You know what? He respected his teachers and the authority over him, and he worked hard in the classroom. You know what? He was polite and respectful to his teachers and principals. And that, he said, attributed to his success. Today, that little boy, oh, he never would give up. You know why? Because his dream, he said, I'll make it a reality. And he proved everybody wrong. They said, you'll never make it. There's no hope. We'll never pick you. And they laughed. Well, guess what? They don't laugh at him anymore because he became a success. And that young man never gave up. And that young man worked hard in the classroom. That young man knew what it meant to have teamwork and commitment and respect and self-discipline. Because that little boy, as he grew older, he never drank alcohol. He never did drugs. He never touched tobacco one time. And you know what? The story goes, he said this. He knew the difference between a winner and a loser. And that is this. A winner will never trade what they want most in life for what they want now. He said, I will work harder than anybody else. And he did. And because he did that, guess what, boys and girls? You're not going to believe this. Because he self-disciplined himself and he worked hard and he had the courage and guts to hold on to his dreams. Guess what, boys and girls? Look me in the eye, everybody. He stands before you today. That was my story. It was me. They said I would never make it. They said I'd never amount to anything. They said I would never be a weightlifting champion. I was the skinniest, weakest kid in my school. I was the kid that wore the braces. And I've been on Steve Harvey's Big Show, Ripley's Believe It or Not, America's Got Talent, set a Guinness World Record. Now imagine that. If I can do that, think for a minute what you can do with your potential if you're courageous and brave enough to hold on to your dream. Boys and girls, today is not the end. Today's only the beginning. It's not how you start the race that counts, but really, it's how you finish the race that counts. And today, who would have ever given me a chance? But I remember growing up some of these key things. And I remember as I was growing up what it meant to have self-discipline. And I remember what it meant to have success. And boys and girls, you know what? It isn't just what you do on a basketball court or a football field. It's what you do in the classroom and your hard work and what you put in your mind. So boys and girls, I want to say that to say this. Hear me closely. We must discipline ourselves to use kind words, talk good to one another, to never let go of our dream. And you know what? I can tell you how powerful words really are. It isn't. We can't bully each other and put each other down because that's negativity. And we want positive mental attitudes today. And I want you to have the guts to say, you know what? I will go after my dream. I will be a success in my life. And I will make a difference in this world. And you know what, boys and girls? I can prove how powerful words are. You know why? We can do a little exercise today. I want you to look at your neighbor and say, neighbor. Say, neighbor. You look good. You're awesome. There's nobody like you. Hey, your hair looks good. Your smile is awesome. You smell great, too. Now give him a big hug and a kiss. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.